IVM.
If there's a book that you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it, said the author Toni Morrison on writing. I think this quote is applicable to our guest today, who couldn't find a wellness center that she could rely on, so she started one. Welcome to Absolutely Right, a show designed to celebrate and decode minds of some amazing achievers. I'm your host, Aditi Surana. I'm a graphologist and a high-performance coach. Sharmilee Kapur is the co-founder and director of Atmantan Wellness Centre, an international wellness luxury resort located in Mulshi near Pune. Atmantan, as Sharmilee describes it, is an amalgamation of Atma, which is soul, Man, which is mind, and Tan, which is body. A few years ago when I visited Atmantan, I remember being impressed by their attention to details and loved my personalized treatment. In today's conversation, I was pleasantly surprised to learn that the soothing, healing vibe of the space is passionately designed on green architectural standards by maximizing the sunlight, by installing the largest solar-powered water heating plant in the country, and by using a specialized plant-based sewage treatment mechanism. Sharmilee spoke about her journey as a seeker, as an entrepreneur. We discussed many things. She shared her views on what does it take to build a business with personalized treatments based on Ayurvedic, yogic, and medical principles. What are some of the myths around wellness in India? Last but not the least, I decoded her handwriting to know what part of her personality fuels her ambitious nature. I'm wondering if Atmantan should be my first getaway after the lockdown. In the meanwhile, Sharmilee will join us on the other side of this short break. Stay tuned.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. It's been a really, really great week on the network. Let me make a couple of recommendations to you guys. Agla Station Adulthood, they have an extraordinary episode on relationships. Ritasha and Ayushi, as always, do a bang-up job. I think you'll really enjoy that conversation. Check out Edges and Sledges, where DJ Ashwin and Varun have been talking to fans from different IPL teams on every episode. It's a really, really interesting project they've taken on during the course of the IPL. And as it comes to a conclusion, I'm sure you'll love to hear the thoughts on the tournament as a whole. I want to mention Uncle Please Sit. They had a really great episode which dove into why is pollution so bad. And I think that given the circumstances we're dealing with right now, it makes a ton of sense to listen to that. Cyrus had a really great week on his show as well. On the Monday episode, he spoke to Raj and DK about all kinds of stuff. He was in one of their early movies. Definitely a fun conversation. Do check that out. And finally, let me talk to you about the Wire Talks with Siddharth Bhatia. We're very excited about this show. On the first episode, Jairam Ramesh is there having a conversation with Siddharth Bhatia about the legacy of Indira Gandhi. I think you will really, really get something out of this. Do give it a listen. And with that, let me get you back to your show.
Hi Sharmilee, for being on the show. I am very curious to know about your entire journey, and more I read about what all led you to start this facility, this experience of Atmantan. I am more curious to understand what would have gone underneath. So where did it begin?
Well, Aditi, it still seems like, a fabulous dream that's come true. So it started with the fact that, I've grown up in a middle-class family, which went to upper middle class. So, I won't say there was anything wanting or lacking in life from at least my point of view. So what happens is, it's when you have abundance, is that the, demerits of abundance comes, which means, the bad lifestyles, the excessive eating and, basically going to a buffet and overloading your plate. So that is all, something that comes with affluence. And so I'll be very honest, I grew up in a Punjabi family, Hindu Punjabi, and we loved our festivals. Festivals meant eating. Yep. And, when our big joint family used to meet, we used to have parties, and that also meant eating and hanging out. So, all the hair salons also saw a major peak around that time. I'm talking about the late 80s, early 90s. So that's when I realized that this is not enough. You can't go to a gym. You can't go to a hair salon. There has to be more. There has to be something that gives me all the answers. If I hand over myself, it should be a dietitian who works along with me. There should be a fitness program for me. So I wanted a place like that. And At that time, I didn't know places like that existed. I'll be very honest. I was 17, 18. I didn't know there were places like that all over the world. And, as I grew up and I realized, okay, people have done this right. I mean, there are people who are doing this, but then again, in India, there's this sort of derogatory feeling to it. Like if you have to go to a health farm.
Why do you say that?
Right. So
why do you say that?
So Aditi, it was like, I'm talking about, the mid-90s. There was this thing that, okay, now you've gone wrong. Now please go to one of these institutes and get right. So, work on your...
So it's almost like Alcoholic Anonymous.
Absolutely.
You go there and get yourself fixed.
Absolutely. So there was a derogatory meaning, like, okay, you've put on a lot of weight, go there. Or, your periods and your menstrual cycles are not in order, go there. So, there was a derogatory aspect associated, and that used to bother me. I used to be like, listen, first of all, if I'm ready to work on something, I should be applauded. I cannot be looked down. So first of all, the dream of Atmantan was a place where you will proudly tell somebody, hey, I'm going there, and you don't hide it, so that was the dream. And also a place where everything would be done as per you. So if I tell them that, look, I like to sleep 7 hours a day, and, it shouldn't be the cut and paste kind of a thing. Like, no, you have to do, that's also like, I believe in 2000 when I was doing my MBAs, when Google came. Before that, we used to see Ask Jeeves. So a lot of times, you had these, cut and paste answers. If you're not doing 9 hours, you're not okay. And then, somewhere we'll read of some genius who sleeps for 4 hours and does really well. And then you start thinking, is this right? Yep. So I wanted a place where you could trust people to help you get better. That was the dream of Atmantan. And, the whole comfort of Atmantan comes from the fact that I didn't want people feeling like they were punished or they had failed. So now they need to go to Atmantan.
Sure.
So, that's the whole difference. Like, how you said that, you decided to go there. And that's because, and look at you. I mean, somebody would see you as a working woman and just like, okay, listen, I want to take a de-stressing break. So that was exactly why this place was made. So that is the way we started. And it was also something that...
And what you're saying is interesting, because from fixing any form of health issue, you're saying that wellness has to be incorporated. Wellness has to be your everyday choice. Right. And one of the reasons why I was curious to have you on the show for the same reason, because I feel fixing something to be better is a way of repair.
Yes.
But actually imbibing your calmness, imbibing your ways of being more physically and mentally healthy is what we should be doing on a daily basis as our lifestyle.
Agreed.
But that does not happen, or that is happening, but people are clueless about it.
Aditi, the fact that you even know this puts you ahead of the curve. So if you realize, if you talk like this to, some aunt who's like 60 years old, she'll be like, ye kya bol rahe ho tum? You look perfect. Kuch problem hi nahi hai. So,
exactly.
There's a whole generation of people who are actually, they realize that I want to, like you said, I want to do this. I want calmness. I want this in my daily schedule. So where do these people go? I mean, they would first go to Google. They would probably go to a dietitian. Then, that's just one bit of it. So it's that whole 360 degree approach, which is missing in a city, sadly. So that is...
So when we look at this business of spa and wellness, I have seen this as a general probably idea that people think, oh, this is one more fancy place. You put in money and you like make everything look very divine, and things will be sorted. Now, Atmantan was an experience for me, but as a founder, as a creator of this concept, what was your idea? And is it really about pumping in money to create a property like that, or what goes underneath creating an experience, keeping in mind that there are different people, different issues, different health issues, mental issues? How do you tackle with all of that?
Right. So first of all, Aditi, you can't start a place like Atmantan until you feel for it. So it is absolutely not about just pumping in the money, because, money can be pumped into several things. So the idea is, if you don't feel for this, if you don't believe in this, for example, I didn't become a pranic healer because of Atmantan. I actually became a pranic healer when we were almost into our drawing phases, architectural phases of Atmantan. And Nikhil was already, my co-founder, my husband Nikhil, he was already into fitness, but he went into an Ironman, just as we had already started with Atmantan. So the idea is we always wanted to do something with wellness because, number one, we were young MBAs. So, we had learned this whole ethical code and this whole contribute to the world positively. And we were, at least I was fresh out of my MBA at 23. And I remember thinking that, listen, if I have to use money, either I do a job, or if I use money, it has to be for something amazing. And something amazing which adds to people's lives. Obviously, if something, the good part is, this is not a paradox. If something adds to people's lives, it will be profitable also. How soon is the whole different thing. But, so that's a great thing about life. If you do something with your heart, something that contributes positively to society, it is not going to go bust. First of all,
and that's a great thought, because most people do not choose careers which would have that as a center stage, right? People think, okay, I will do whatever is basic minimum to meet my needs and all of that, and in the as an effect that the world may change.
Hopefully,
I'm very pleased to know that you started with the otherwise idea. Also, I think many people now, like many youngsters, are choosing that as a choice. They're like, okay, I want to spend my time, but they value their time and they say, okay, I want to make this shift. I want to make a difference.
And they realize, that the passion will then just flow out, in a very natural way, and they realize that the whole, commitment to work is also coming from, the heart. Like, you have your heart chakra, you have your Ajna chakra, which thinks. So, when you put in your heart chakra, it's how you love your family. The mind and basically the heart over mind. So you can't do business without the mind. So for us, Aditi, definitely it was something that, led from the heart. And we were very clear that, this did require an X amount of capital and, a lot of help from the family, both our families. So we wanted something that really meant something to us. And we knew that we would be proud of creating it. It wasn't like an ammunition factory where we would make, excuses every day. So it was a great vision. I mean, Nikhil was working. I was, on the drawing board. My family's into real estate. So the idea was, there already was something to go back to. The idea was, if you're going to do something, it has to mean. And actually, Aditi, that's the only thing that's helped us last this long. If somebody is not as committed or as the basic, the value of it is not as precious to you, then you will not last, because there are a lot of down days and there is a lot of struggle. And that's the time you remind yourself, why are you doing this? Inherently, I'm not cheating my guests. Inherently, I'm giving a great service. Inherently, I'm helping somebody and doing a good karma. So that is the whole philosophy behind us starting it.
So tell me about your personal journey, or like which were your moments where you felt that I need to commit to this larger idea. See, one is the business aspect, as we spoke about it. What was the personal aspect?
Personal aspect, right. I should say that, in the beginning, it seemed amazing. It started with something as simple as a project report. But personally, it was, I won't say very easy, because, I started Atmantan when I was just without a baby. I got pregnant and I had a baby. So, it was tough. It was tough managing those two things. But as a personal journey, yes, I always tell my guests this, that just because I'm a founder of Atmantan, it doesn't mean I'm perfect. I always say that Atmantan is made for people like me, and it's made by people like Nikhil. So, Nikhil is more that, perfect walk the talk. And I'm very, I'm very clear that I'm not perfect and I'm somebody who needs Atmantan. There are days I'll stay up till 2 in the morning and 3 in the morning and mess up my day. And that is why a person like, I'm a very relatable person. I'm a very real person. So Atmantan is for people like me. And, my family has all these, my family has the smokers, my family has the drinkers. And like I said, I'm a typical Punjabi Hindu family. So, Nikhil's family, on the other hand, his dad's an army man, over-disciplined. Nikhil is very disciplined.
Wow.
So in that sense, if you tell me about my personal journey, I've never let that become a hindrance, because a lot of guests will tell me and say, oh, you have coffee? I'll be like, yeah, I do have coffee. And and I am trying to kick the habit. I've come to 2 cups a day. So, for me, Atmantan which is why I actually made it like that. Where I was like, look.
What is the word?
Sorry.
What does the word mean? What does Atmantan mean?
Right. So Atmantan is, I think, a word I could be in love with my whole life. So it is, Atma, which we know in Sanskrit means the soul, and Man, which means the mind, and Tan, which means the body. So it's, the culmination, the holistic culmination of the mind, body, and soul. So that is the meaning of Atmantan. And we like to believe that, you could, sort of get the wellness of all those 3 aspects, and some even more actually. Mm-hmm. So that's the name. So as far as my personal journey goes, I am still at the beginning line of wellness. And I love that I have an Atmantan doctor to go to and say, listen, this happened. What can I do? So I do not claim to be perfect at all. And this is the reason, actually, like I said, that, the guests love talking to me, because they love telling me, listen, I smoke. And they know I'm not going to judge them, okay? Because because
I was about to say that someone who runs a place like that, you have the image of this person would be perfect and would have all the tick box right.
I wish.
And here you are. You're like, no, I don't, and that's why I think I'm a better person to understand what my client is going through.
No, because let's be honest, Aditi. It's such a long journey, and if you like, it's been 10 years now since we started building Atmantan, and I have obviously moved on in leaps and bounds from where I started. But it's a long journey ahead, and obviously, I believe that, I need to come back to Atmantan every 6 months. Like Nikhil is there and he's like, okay, I'm there, I'm detoxing. So the idea is that's being human, right? You can't stick to a regime no matter how much you want. But yes, if you knew me 10 years ago and you knew me now, you would say, okay, I can't believe it's the same person. But
that's and those gradual changes is what we are looking at any level.
Thank you for that.
So they don't happen overnight. They actually build up. That's great.
Right.
Now, another aspect of this, like you and your husband work together.
Right. Well,
on this project?
Yeah, we do. And we try to not work as much together, but yeah, we do work together.
That was my question. Like, how do you manage that? Because that's like $1 million question, right? Two partners, business partners and life partners being together. That's such a tough journey.
Yeah. So, I know your portal is all about honesty. So I'll be very honest with you. When I started, Nikhil is somebody, he was a friend. He was my best friend who I married. And, it was like, oh my God, we're going to work together. It's going to be amazing. And it is not. Okay, so anybody who tells you, trust me, this is my number one question when I meet other couples who are working, and honestly, I will not give you the textbook answer. It is not easy. It is, it's a whole lot of permit. We'll have these arguments which are so loud and everybody in office can hear them. And then, we'll be like, listen, calm down. And the reason we even argue, because we both care about it. So we're like, listen, this is my point. I'm not letting this go. And he's like, no, this is my point. So the idea is that it is not easy, and eventually we decided the only way forward was to set some rules. So it's like, we have areas that we look at, and we give each other complete autonomy there, where we would not sort of get into each other's spaces. And also team wise, there are some people who would only be his people. They would sort of understand his language. And I would have my people. But besides that, when we do collaborate, you have to take a deep breath and say, I'm not going to lose it. And because, all that is real, Aditi. Like, you didn't respect me and you said this and you made me look like a fool. So that is real. And anybody who tells you otherwise, they deserve a whole different prize. Okay. I don't know how.
No. I'm so curious to know this, that what makes couple keep their love alive for many, many years? Like, what happens? What do they do?
Right.
And, how do they manage all the pitfalls that all of us have fallen into?
Right.
Like, what is the hack behind? So that's why I wanted to ask you this question. Like, how are you guys managing? And, the place like wellness space, we really have to have that energy. You can't be a frustrated person and create a space like that.
True.
But I hear you. I hear you.
So we will do our separate meditations, and there are times we will do our meditations together. And there are like good times, so when you have a great day at work, you can share it better. But, there are also those bad days where, you have to tell the person that, listen, we're not discussing this. Now it's about family, and, probably creating those holidays, or probably creating a movie night. So there are obvious, parts where you have to stop and not carry that forward, because it does, seep into the other part of your life, and sometimes not in a pleasant way.
So, over to you now. I'm going to turn the tables and let's talk about the second part of our conversation, which is based on graphology. So I already have your handwriting sample, and anything that you feel you are right now thinking about, deliberating, confused about, you can ask any live question, live in the sense, whatever is active within you. And then I would look at it in the writing and, do my best to comment about it.
So I've been thinking about this. So do you think I'm like a giving person? Because I feel like, I'm quite empathetic, but I don't know if I'm, giving period, like as sacrificing, or what do you think?
So that's an interesting space, because where you're coming from, and let's set the context a bit. We are made to believe, or we are constantly told, being a giving person is a great idea, or being a giving person or being selfless is something that we should strive.
Right.
Now, if I look at the Indian spiritual aspect of it, I know where you're coming from.
Right.
But let's look at the practical nature and where you are and how you're functioning, right? So are you a giving person? You are a generous person, for sure. Okay, so if you compliment somebody, if you are interested in someone, if you want to genuinely, help somebody, you're a generous person. But are you a giving person? So you're not giving to a point where you allow the other person to walk all over you. You're not giving to a point where you would do it selflessly, where you would not have any expectation. That doesn't happen. You would do it.
That is amazingly bang on, by the way. That is, I'm known with my friends as somebody who's, very complimenting, and I do tend to pick on those things. So that is bang on. Were you able to read that just from my handwriting? That's amazing.
Yes. So when the whole idea of giving comes, I feel you really have to identify, give as much as things make you happy. The very moment you start doing it. So I see this, and I'm going to say it as is. I feel sometimes you overcompensate in your behavior for other people's problems. So you feel you don't have that issue, but the other person has it. So let me just give so that, I will compensate for my good luck. I will compensate for my well-being. I will compensate, in the word that you use, for my abundance by giving the person a little more space.
Wow.
So
wow, that's a mouthful. I have to think of that. Amazing. I have one more question. How ambitious, because I feel my ambitions have changed. How ambitious do you think I am from what you read?
So for you, ambition is not something that would be, so are you an ambitious person? Yes, to answer that question. But what kind of ambition? So you're not somebody who would exaggerate things. You would not think 10 years down the line. You're very action-oriented, ambitious person. So, literally like, you're like, okay, I got to do this. This matters to me. What can I do? How can I do it? What are the aspects that I have to focus on? So you're literally constantly gathering information to make sure that you build the practical in the moment plan of this.
Okay, that is also very true. I'm very, very present focused. I don't tend to, do well with, somebody saying, think about this and see how it looked 2 years ago. And I'm like, no, this needs to be done. And this needs to be said. So let's just do this. So amazing.
Yeah. And that's an interesting aspect, because if someone only gives you ideas or, these so-called plan of actions, which may or may not come true, that's confusing for you. And you kind of refuse to take them. You're like, okay, tell me what exactly you expect and we will work on that.
Right. So I always wonder. So I love meeting people and things like that. But I feel like, do you think I'm now that my handwriting now is very different from what it was when I was younger? Do you think I'm
Sure.
intolerant? I'm being very honest here. These are things I wonder because I like people, and then I suddenly feel like, okay, I'm not as tolerant as I was when I was 20. So I'm just like, you're like this little, this person who's like, the gypsy
You
lady.
can peep,
Yeah,
peep in your
the
mind and
gypsy
tell you
lady. I
things.
know.
Yeah,
You're supposed to look at the, cloudy ball and tell me what you see.
the answer is yes. With passing time, you're becoming more intolerant of things that you don't agree with. You're becoming a stronger person for sure. Also, intolerant of, so impatience is not the correct word to use here, because in some areas you're extremely patient. But with people, and if I may use the word, with their stupidity, you do become intolerant. So if you have to repeat something over and over again, you kind of prefer to withdraw and probably change the situation completely by changing the person, by changing the scenario. But yeah, you're committed to do that.
Okay, that is so true. I don't even know if that is going to hurt me or not, what you just said. But yeah, I do notice that. I would like to think it's me being more like you said, becoming a newer person and more evolved. So I find myself,
So
yeah, sorry.
I think when you spoke about tolerant, I felt that was also wanting to be accepted, validated, fit in. Those were the ways. But now I think it's part of growing up as a woman. I see
Yeah,
that in many people, but women especially, I feel you literally look at things and you're like, okay, even if you don't like me or if I don't please you, that's fine. I
yeah.
think this is where you're
I
getting at.
agree.
Yeah.
I think that's called the 40 peak. The minute I'm I'm 42, and it's like the 40 peak. Where you suddenly realize that it's fine. If you don't like me, I'm just going to continue being honest to myself. So okay, so that wasn't so bad. I was a little worried what you would say.
Okay. Any other question for me?
Mm, I don't. Do you want to tell me anything? I don't know. Those were my pertinent questions.
So, one of the things that I find very different for you, keeping your profession in mind, is Atmantan requires a lot of detailing. It requires a lot of process-driven
Right.
execution.
Right.
But as a person, you are not that.
Yeah.
So, as long as you are delegating those aspects, you will do better.
Okay. So you're
If you are focused.
yeah, you're right about that. Sorry.
No, no. So if you're focused on like literally creating your strategies, if you're focused on reaching out to right people. So I don't know how your work is divided, but make sure that you do connect to the public and exploratory part. Some people are amazing at reproducing the system over and over again, and others are amazing at literally jumping in and solving problems and firefighting.
Right.
Now, you are a
Right.
firefighter. You get like exhausted if there is no fire.
Right.
You get exhausted if there are no complications to look at and change. And other people are like, why can't you just sit idle? Why can't you just like chill? They're like, yeah, I can chill better if I know that I have gone and have solved the problems I can,
Right.
and then I can chill.
Right. Right.
But that's very, very important. So I have a feeling that last and probably it could be because of the lockdown or otherwise, but at least 6 to 8 months, you're not feeling stimulated enough. And that is an important aspect of how you function, how you identify, and how you move forward.
True. True.
So that's
So
what I
you're
feel.
absolutely right. Nikhil is the process guy. I mean,
Oh,
absolutely. This is something we always say. I'm more, the strategic person where I, come up with the ideas and I have, but he's more the guy who gets it done. He's the one who drives all the, I have the more, like, I would say, okay, this is what our guest needs to feel, and this is how we have to train our team. But Nikhil is the one who'll
yeah.
actually put together the material and, the entire process and the entire, protocol around it. So yes, you're
Right.
absolutely right about that. I prefer, I'm calling it fancier when I say, the eagle eye on top, but yeah, it works for me really well. that I would think of, what direction we are going in, and what are the new things which excite me. Like I told you, I'm the best consumer for Atmantan. So I love to think that, this is what a guest wants now. Like, how you said. And also lockdown has been tough, Aditi. You're absolutely right. Because, for the hospitality industry, we are wellness hospitality. And, this is almost like what we've been telling people for years, that, please get well while you're well. Don't wait for disaster. Precaution is better than cure. So, we spend all this money when we go to hospitals. But what is amazing is that you could do that way cheaper and way easier, fitting into your schedule if you just get to it sooner. So
that's so
this is something, we've been shouting about for like the last 4 years. And then, the pandemic comes. And obviously, considering right now Atmantan is very physical, it's a physical resort. We started with online services, we got a good response. So in that sense, yes, the stimulation was external because, we signed up for these courses. We had these amazing management modules we ran with the team. But yeah, the inherent insecurity of a businessman or an entrepreneur did hit. And I'm not going to lie about that. I mean, I'm not a who's who of India where I don't have to worry about generations of money. So, yes.
Also, nobody's immune to the stress that the situation got. So,
absolutely. Definitely. So, in that sense, yes. And the stimulation is coming back, because when you see, for me personally, I love meeting guests. Whenever I meet a guest and I hear a story, it just changes the energy around my day. I mean, just hearing them say that I have never slept so well in my life, or, beta, and there are people who've given Ashirwad to Nikhil and me, saying, and as simple as that sounds, it changes you, it sort of, it's like it tells you that what you did mattered. And it's not as philanthropic as it sounds, but it really, really makes my day. Like, just something simple where somebody said, oh, I love the fact that when I'm at Atmantan, I don't have to put on makeup. I can just, roam around track pants the whole day and not be judged. Yeah. So I'm like so happy. I'm like, yes, that's exactly the idea behind it. So, so for me, those are gratifying moments. And I think those had reduced, during the lockdown. So my stimulation probably went down there. But I think what you said is absolutely right. I think you're a pretty great graphologist. Yeah, if you could find out all that. I'm pretty much going to be signing some people up for you with you now. That is amazing.
Thank you.
So thanks for that.
So when we look at, your need for different things, I remember in our previous conversation, you spoke about the green movement or the green approach that you have used. Right. Tell us more about it.
Right. So thank you for that. So, again, we were building a resort in the beginning. I mean, the beautiful idea of Atmantan had to come in a physicality when it comes to architectural drawings and, actual site excavation and things like that. So, right from day one, we were very clear that we didn't want an energy guzzler. We didn't want a place which, looks pretty, but it's like ruining the environment, or as little as possible, because then that defeats the whole purpose of wellness. Just the fact that I blew so much, fuel on this doesn't make me feel good, or there is going to be a karmic imprint. So for us, right from the time when we sat with our architects, we had told them that, we want a landscape which blends with the hill. We don't want something sticking out. So, all our buildings have a lot of glass. They have a lot of wood. So in that sense, we tried to keep it as minimalistic as possible, not to make it as a concrete jungle. We didn't want to do that. Also, little things like, I remember this one person we had flown in from, I think, Delhi. He did these, amazing climate studies. So they actually figure out where the sun rises and at what point of time is it at, 12 o'clock right above your head. So, even the direction of the sun sort of affects the kind of lighting and air conditioning you use. So, so we've even done those studies and we figured out, okay, all our windows should face a certain way. Then we got these amazing windows, which are known as the best for heat, for sort of sustaining the heat of the room. These climate studies also tell you the ideal temperature in the room. So all those things we did. And also, this was, again, a personal find. We found this person who's developed this patented technology. Okay, so Aditi, all these big hotels and everywhere you see this huge big tank where the sewage water is getting treated by chemicals. You'll see it. It's actually something you see. So in Atmantan, it is not there. We have a field. We actually have a beautiful hill where we have these beautiful plants. It's called the kaina plants. They look like gladulas. They're as pretty as gladulas. So we have this entire hilltop where these plants are put. It's a patented seed. It's called the SIBF. And we have all the water coming down this hill. And at the end of the hill, the water that comes is good enough for irrigation and agriculture. So it's it's called a sewage, plant, which actually cleanses all your sewage and makes it good enough to go back for agriculture. So there is no chemical going into our food chain. So this is again a great initiative, which touch wood, we managed to do this, and also solar. We built a extensive solar farm. It could have been bigger, but as you know, these things are the installation cost of a solar farm is much higher as compared to other. So we decided that we wanted to commit to a solar technology, because we have the same in our house also. We had been using it for a few years. So we decided that let's do this for one thing and do it properly. So we have the largest solar farm in the country for heating water for the guests. So all our water which the guests use in the in the guest rooms are all from that solar farm. And you will hear of an Indian guest complain once in a while when there's monsoon, the water is cold. So again, sadly, these initiatives were more appreciated by Westerners, because I think they hear about it more than us. And now I think, with David Attenborough, I think more people are hearing about how to keep the earth clean. So, for us, all these great initiatives, we were very clear from the beginning. In fact, I would call this more Nikhil's baby than mine. He was very clear that we have to go for the Gold LEED certification right from day one. And that is something which people, if anybody's listening and anybody's planning to start something, it can start from day one. This is not and you can start it from day 20 also. The point is, as long as you decide you want to do something, you can. So even my interior designer, she's somebody I personally know, she was told that you are not going to be getting a single halogen on the property. And we don't have any halogens on the property. So, even that 99.9% LED CFL friendly property was, if the architect didn't see eye to eye, it would hurt her. Yeah. So in that sense, we had a lot of support from a lot of our people. Even my landscape designer, the minute we told her, we don't want to cut down the whole forest. We don't want a complete, she would be like, yes. She's a really, famous landscape designer, President's Awardee, Shobha Bhopatkar. She also said that, I get this. Let's not touch this part. Let's just manicure the rest. So we also met great people along the way who understood that. And we are Gold LEED certified. So that is something we're very proud of, because for a manufacturing unit, a factory, it's much easier. But for a deluxe, a luxury. Well, Aditi, I had this huge thing where I used to go around telling everybody in my family that we are not a spa, we're a wellness center. So they used to say, how's your spa doing? And I'm like, it's not a spa. If you went there, I would not give you a spa. I would check your BP. I would check your vitals. I would check if that therapy is suited to you. And only then would I give it to you. So in that sense, for a wellness center / resort kind of a setup, to get a Gold LEED certified is much tougher than it is for a factory. And I just want to tell people that, we can do this. So
my question to you here, okay? So if an entrepreneur is thinking about all these things which require a lot of investment, where should they begin? And what I'm liking is it's the thought that you're focused on. Yes, okay. In my wellness center, I stand corrected. When you look at when you look at different aspects of it, when you look at different every small aspect of that experience is done thoughtfully, which I really like as a thought, which was my experience when I was there, and I thought, it takes commitment for somebody to deliver that over and over again. So what would you tell somebody who is interested in wellness space? What should they keep in mind?
So number one, see the cost. There are a lot of cheaper options in every aspect. So I don't think the cost is a big issue. I would tell somebody who was going into the wellness space that be very clear that you're doing this to get something better on the table, like to offer something that isn't there. So, the money bit, the fame bit, all may happen, may not. But wellness first has to be relevant. If it's not relevant wellness, it's not going to work. So you have to find what you're getting into the market, what you're giving, and you have to find the people for it. You need to know that people are looking for this, because for us, a lot of it also was about educating people that, listen, you need this and you need to commit there.
Right.
So yes, the purpose has to be at the center of it. It's also about, if you're starting something in the city, for example, it's also about trying to find in those gaps. Like today, you have a ton of dietitians, but why do some dietitians do better than the other? So it's because they are more real. See, this is my learning so far, Aditi, that people who are real stay longer. You don't, if you talk about all the famous dietitians, or even if you talk about Atmantan, we are very, very real. We are not going to tell a person that, listen, before coming to me, or I'm going to make you lose 10 kgs in 10 days. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, nobody in the world can figure out your body. But we are here to help you figure it out. So it's about being real. Don't make tall promises. Don't make incorrect promises. Be honest. And also, be true. So, for example, even the oils you use, you're not offering, give true wellness. Because people need that. If they're spending their hard-earned money with you and they're spending their hard-earned time with you, you need to be giving them the right product. Don't cheat people. It will come back to you. So if for example, the oil you're using, see, so many of these machines, they call themselves weight loss machines. And when you go there and, there's this whole thing, if this happens, or, after this, you pretty much can't eat for 7 days and whatever. So, I mean, that is all marketing, and that is all, and that's not real. People need to understand that. If that was real, everybody would look like a size 0 by now. Everybody rich would look like a size 0.
Sure.
And they don't.
True.
And, and again, the fact that the spirituality aspect, you can look fabulous, but you can feel like crap. And you don't have that good sleep, you don't have good relations in your life, you don't have good people around you, because you're not a nice person, because you're not nice to yourself. I mean, if you're not nice and you don't like yourself, nobody else will. So that also starts from somewhere. So, India actually, Aditi, do you know we are the epicenter of spirituality, even geographically. The kind of magnetism and the kind of, the sort of the plates and all below India and Asia makes us more spiritually enhancing as countries. So somebody who did spirituality in India would do much better than if they did spirituality in the West. Because
which I'm aware of for one reason, that for the last 10 years, I've been doing transcendental meditation. And while studying that, I learned that if you're learning the same course in the US, the procedure is different. And if you're learning it in India, or if you're born here, you're given so many discounts in your process, because it is understood that you're born here. So you already imbibe certain things to begin with.
Right. Yeah. So see, there you go. And this is what I love about spirituality, that they all actually complement each other. They don't defy. They don't say, one doesn't say there's one God and there are many gods. All spirituality somewhere always meets and complements each other. So in that sense, when, obviously it took the West again to sort of remind us that we have an amazing country. And that was another thing, by the way. If you're doing wellness in India, we, like you said, we're already beginning with a bank balance. We're not starting at 0. So wellness in India is easier to do than to do it in another country, for example, because we have so much more to offer. And I think people are, there are a lot of quacks. So because of that, sometimes as Indians, we're put off. We are like, I'm not doing this. So that is another, that's a bit of a disadvantage. So for me, if any entrepreneur is looking at a wellness space, he has to think of a genuine product. He has to be honest. And trust me, the people will come. It has to be about giving results. If you're not giving those results, then those people will not come back. And like if you have a green initiative, if you believe, so for us, we believe in the karma law in a big way. So, even the oils we use have to be pure, because we feel like otherwise your wellness will be compromised somewhere. There's no point in the therapist, taking the effort, the doctor giving your time, and then the actual ingredient harms you. So for us, we went all that distance. But I think there are a lot of other ways also to do it. because there are cheaper oils which are, pure Indian oils like sesame and or coconut oil. So you could even do it with that. So I feel like that's why there are such great smaller centers also in India, which do.
So you're saying that the commitment to the quality and the result matters more
Absolutely.
than your resources in the moment.
Absolutely.
That's a great lesson to keep in
Because
mind.
for wellness, otherwise it won't work. The product has to be so genuine, then it won't work otherwise. Yeah.
So I'm going to come to our last two questions. We spoke about your journey, we spoke about your milestones, and here I am before we go, being a wellness practitioner, being a wellness promoter. I want to ask you, so what was your favorite failure?
I like how you said favorite failure. So that means I'm definitely out of it. So I can talk about it. So
yes.
one big failure was, when we were looking for funding, Aditi. We were not a hospital and we were neither a hotel. So people would not understand, when we went out there, telling them that, so my family owns some hotels. So in a hotel, they typically say, okay, how many rooms and how soon will you break even? How soon will you have? But in a wellness resort, the whole philosophy is different. One person can stay for longer. One person will stay for 10 nights as opposed to every night the person changing. So they wouldn't understand what wellness hospitality is. It was really tough getting that initial funding. I mean, we started using all our resources, and at some point, it had come down to a point where we could not even go on an extra month if we hadn't got that funding at that point. So it was really tough because they ask you all your typical hospitality questions. They tell you how many keys will you sell a night. They don't get that long stays trumps having new people every day. They don't understand that therapies are a whole different, they're like, ye to hai. But they, the whole team, the kind of team you build, it's, so you have the whole FMB, you have the whole hospitality team, plus you have to have the whole wellness medical team. So, so for us, for example, the human resource aspect is much larger than a typical hotel. And at the same time, we can't just replace people. So we can't have somebody who just got out of hotel management come to us. There's a whole lot of training. When the guest comes in, they need to know the guest's name. They need to know what program he's on. They need to know his allergies. So he can't just join us on day one. So there's a lot of training and everything that goes in. So in that sense, it was a tough time. We knew that like a school or, our break even would be more elongated as such. It wouldn't come in year one. It would not come in year two, that sort of thing. But banks don't want to hear that. But finally, we did get a financial institution that believed in us. And today they are proud of us. They like the fact, like I remember this really cute thing. I went to them, we were signing papers and they said, what do you drink? So I said, anything. And they said, we have green tea. So I felt so great. I said, they have offered me green tea. So they understand that, we represent wellness. It was it's that one incident, which stayed with me. And so, it was, and obviously now they get it more. So so like I said, there is a rainbow at the end of all that thunder and lightning. So that was one very big failure.
So while going through your thunder and lightning, what was your go-to statement, quote, mantra, poem? How did you keep yourself on with the journey?
So for me, this is something, I'm a very strong person. I'm somebody who believes in myself. So this is something I actually do tell myself. I always say, be there for yourself. If somebody is there or not there, never forget to be there for yourself. So there are times where there'll be a ton of people around you, and there are times when nobody will believe in you. So don't forget to believe in yourself, because you're worth something. And if you don't know that, nobody else will. And so that is something that always brings me back when I start, and I'm like, listen, don't forget, you have to be there. Like, you're your best friend. And then, you start talking to yourself, and you're like, and everything comes your way as long as you ask it with the best intention. So if there are times that you want something for revenge, you will notice it will not come to you. But, if you want something to certainly help someone, it'll come, quicker to you. So change how you ask for things. But for me, when you're there for yourself, it's the start of a conversation. It's a start of a...
So you have your own back more than anyone else, and that's how you kind of rebuild yourself every time.
You have to. If you don't have your back, I mean, you have no rights. And by the way, you're never alone then. So
yep.
You definitely need to have your back. That's one thing that keeps me going.
Yeah, and also they say that you are constantly training people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself, and that is a reflection. When you respect yourself and when you have that system going for yourself, other people also learn a great deal. So I think that was a good one.
Well said.
That's a good one.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Sharmilee, for joining us. This was really a different, I think, peak for us to understand what all goes underneath the so-called beautiful wellness space that you build. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Aditi. It's been a pleasure. And have a great, great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of Absolutely Right. I love learning from stories and personal experiences. Every time I analyze someone's handwriting, I get to learn some nuances of their story, their personality, their life. And that way, I get to learn something new about myself. Today, I felt Sharmilee and her husband Nikhil are genuinely thinking of the future of the soil while growing a business, something that should be a priority for all of us. They have been willing to pay a higher price in the moment. They're willing to pay a higher price in the moment in order to do things in the correct way, especially to keep things environmentally right. I hope more and more of us find ways to be socially responsible and become true wellness warriors. What did you learn from this conversation? What was your favorite part? Send me your feedback and questions on my Instagram handle at Aditi Surana. And before I go, let me remind you, every Monday at 8:30 a.m. IST, I go live on my Instagram handle and do a handwriting-based calming meditation called Kama Sutra. A simple Zen doodle-like handwriting movement that helps you start your week on a calmer note. It takes just 12 minutes to do this practice, but it's brilliant. Let's deal with all your Monday blues, stress, and anxiety together by implementing this practice. All the details are mentioned on my website, aditisurana.com/Kamasutra, CALMSUTRA. If you like this podcast, then don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on IVM Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Let's connect on Friday. Till then, happy writing!
Sachin Tendulkar, Virat Kohli, Don Bradman, and now Cyrus Brocha. Okay, probably not in the right company. I mean, Don Bradman is Australian. But it's called Cyrus Says, a wonderful show about everything. Find the show on the IVM Podcast app, ivmpodcast.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta. I'm B50 on Twitter. I am the host of Paisa Vaisa, the show that talks money. On my show, I speak to experts from every field of money and finance, from stock markets, equities, debt funds, credit cards, life insurance, every possible area of money and finance that you can think of. We even did an episode on cryptocurrency. I've got fantastic guests from mutual funds to personal finance experts everywhere. Robo-advisory, startups, just name it, we've got it. At Paisa Vaisa, we help you make smart decisions about money. You work hard for money. Now make your money work hard for you. New episodes out every Monday, and you can listen to my show on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you have.